What's up, guys? I am Brandon Baddock, and we are back with Disturbing the Priest. I am joined by Nate Fillers once again, comedian, musician, a man of talent. What is up, Nate?
Thank you. I'm just hanging out.
Yeah, and we have a very interesting topic today. I wanted to talk about like just the best metal singers. Why I think this topic's like interesting is because metal is so vastly expansive and wide, and there's so many subgenres, and there's so many different elements of the genre, especially in terms of singing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it
So
was tough to kind of wrap my head around a list or like, because I'm like, where do you start? Because there's so many different styles.
yeah, and I feel like a lot of metal singers too are like almost controversial, even in terms of like just singers alone.
hmm
Um, One I just want to bring up real quick is Dave Mustaine from Megadeth.
I knew it. I knew you were gonna bring him up first.
um, like I don't know, and when we talk about like what makes a good metal singer, I feel like there's a bunch of elements to that. There's a
hmm
technical aspect of it. There's a translation aspect of it, meaning how well can a singer convey the lyrics, the tone, and just like the band's message. Because when you're a singer, you're the voice of a band.
Yeah,
So if you're
arguably
like,
the most important part.
yeah, exactly. So it's a very important job. So there's many elements. There's a technical aspect, there's a translation aspect, and just like almost iconic aspect. And that's leading to Dave Mustaine. I would never call Dave one of the best metal singers. You know what I mean? But his voice is very iconic.
hmm
There are amazing singers that people replace, and people are like, all right, okay. You can never replace Dave Mustaine.
No, you can't.
His voice is so recognizable. It is so unique. It is iconic. And some people might argue that makes him a great singer.
I can see that. I'm not disagreeing with you. I just think it was funny that you're gonna start off with Dave.
With what people like to say the worst singer in thrash metal.
Hello, me.
But that's what's amazing about it. It's
Yeah.
so quotable. It almost has like a sense of humor behind it. It's very emotional. He has so much emotion in his voice, especially like in my darkest hour,
hmm
where it's a very personal song to him, and you hear the pain in his voice, and even sweating bullets. Hello, me, meet the real me. Like it's conveying exactly what's written in the lyrics.
hmm
Um, and I don't. There's not a lot of metal singers that do it as well as Dave Mustaine. And again, like we can go into the technical aspect of his voice and the like actual sound of it,
hmm
which oof. Like I don't know, man. Like some of especially 2022 Dave Mustaine is a little rough. Like you look at
yeah.
his new album, and there's a song Sacrifice where the first or like literally in the first line, it's like maybe you could have done a couple more takes. that that was a little rusty, Dave. But and even live too, like he's sometimes he's dying on stage.
Yeah.
But again, like you can't help but say like he's one of the most iconic,
Yep.
arguably the most iconic thrash metal singer.
Okay.
Which that may be a hot take, but
I'm
that's
going through my mind. Yeah.
you even
Like,
said it yourself. Hello, me, meet the real me. Like
yeah.
you got the classic like Hetfield. Like Hetfield has a lot of different not ranges, but he has a lot of vocal styles with his singing.
hmm
And Hetfield is miles like as a technical singer, is just like the sound of his voice
hmm
way better than Dave. And like you got the classic James Hetfield's like, yeah, yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
hey, hey. Like, kind of got that little southernness to it, but like not real. It's
Yeah.
not really southern. It's something.
No, that's interesting. Yeah, you do kind of get that. Like almost a little, there's a little accent
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
little bit of his music. And he's a way better singer. He actually started out as a singer before a guitarist. Um, where Dave Mustaine's literally the opposite.
Hmm.
He wanted when Megadeth was formed, he wanted the singer Diamond Head to like be the front man of Megadeth. And eventually it just went through so many singers. And then as like a goof, Dave went on the microphone and started singing. And Ellefson was like, that is amazing. You need to do that. And here we are, 2022, the sick, the dying, the dead. Dave Mustaine is still the front man. And it's pretty much his solo career now, Megadeth.
Did did you see when they were doing like some sort of award ceremony when they awarded Megadeth like some sort of award
The
that
Grammy.
they played Metallica?
Yeah, it was yeah.
Do you
When
know anything about that? Was
yes,
that
yeah,
like
I do.
Dave's
I
doing? Okay.
watched it live. Um it was so weird because that was the
Yeah.
same night that Metallica performed at the Grammys with Lady Gaga
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and James' mic didn't work.
Yeah.
So it was just and it literally ruined the song Moth into Flame for me
Yeah.
because that's the song they played off their new record. I say
Hmm.
new, it's from
Well,
2017.
yeah, when it was new at the time.
2017 was it? I don't know. But yeah, they played Moth into Flame, and I always hear the first line of that song, and then when it gets to the second line, I can never not think of just James singing silently into a mic.
Oh,
And it just keeps cutting, and then you cut to James and he like looks over at the sound guy and he looks
yeah,
very angry. And
that was a weird night.
it was, and it got to like a really cool moment though, because there was a moment when both Lady Gaga and James Hetfield were screaming into the same mic,
That's
and it was
cool.
so like aggressive, and there was so much. It was really cool. It was such a cool like shot
Yeah.
for TV. So yeah, that happened, and people joked like Dave Mustaine cut the mic or whatever.
Yeah,
You
there's
know,
always that. And it's just so weird that like they played Metallica and like the whole, for those of you who don't know, like the feud between, Dave once being in Metallica getting kicked out because he's drunk, you know.
yeah, Megadeth literally formed to destroy Metallica.
Yeah.
Probably like no, not definitely the biggest band rivalry of all time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have you have that same night, Dave wins his first Grammy for Dystopia, their 2016 release. And what was their walk-up song? Master of Puppets.
Hmm.
No matter how many, Dave will never not get reminded. Like people will like I see a lot of comments and whatnot. Like, could Dave just let it go already? Could Dave just it's like give the guy a break.
It's a
You
little
know what I
tough.
mean? He really gets reminded of it all the time. Like, no wonder he's always talking about it. Like
Yeah.
literally when he won a Grammy for his band, their
Yeah.
walk-up song was like the worst rendition of Master of Puppets I've ever heard in my life.
It was so awkward.
Um,
And but you couldn't help but feel like it was intentional. Like somehow, I don't really know like any backstory towards it, but you're just like, wow, they're too close to like they're too involved with each other for it not to be like a middle finger.
yeah, and Dave and Metallica both really kind of took an L that day because like even like you got Metallica with the Lady Gaga situation, and then Dave Mustaine with
Yeah.
the Master of Puppets walk on. But like I doubt,
No.
he's
Yeah.
commented about it, and
Yeah, he thought it
he
was
said that
fun.
he thought it was funny. He thought he's like it was a terrible cover of it.
Yeah.
Again, he just won his first Grammy. He was pumped, and like kudos to Dave Mustaine and company
Yeah.
for that.
Agreed.
But we have to. Dave Mustaine has to come up in this conversation.
I agree. That's fair.
And I actually we'll probably get there at some point, but I have very similar reasons for, in my opinion, the greatest metal vocalist of all time. But we will get there in time.
You're saving that one for last.
Yeah, I'll save that for later.
Fuck.
While we're on thrash metal, I do want to say a couple ones that are really, really awesome. You have Mark from Death Angel, the singer Death Angel, insane, very high octaves,
Mm-hmm.
very iconic voice, conveys the music so well, the voice of the band, very amazing. Also, Bobby Blitz from Overkill, very scratchy voice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like an opposite Dave Mustaine, where like he has those very iconic vocals and sound, but he sounds really good.
Yeah.
But Bobby Blitz, New Jersey, like amazing vocalist. Again, he's someone else who like I can never see Overkill replacing. He's totally the voice of that band. But for thrash metal, and like of course, James Hetfield, just a good singer.
Yeah.
I don't think anything special, that
It's pretty good.
you can really look at like the live Seattle where he does like Battery and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
There's like this crazy and like just insane vocals from James. But that's really it for thrash metal, in my opinion. But we also have classic heavy metal.
Yeah, I have not
Which-
organized my list at all, so I'm all over the place, man.
I'm just honestly like probably gonna like maybe go from what I can think of, like genre to genre, you know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of them I don't even know like what genre they really classify, because like I never really pay attention to that, because I feel like genre is one of those things that is just, it's kind of a weird label, because a lot of music these days is just so intertwined that you might as well not have genre labels anymore, because it's
King
just
Gizzard.
like, yeah, exactly. Like so many bands are just all over the place nowadays. Like they'll put out an album that's really heavy, and then they'll put out like a bunch of songs on there that are really light, that if you showed somebody those light songs, they'd be like, this is not metal, this is like, folk music,
Yeah.
or like it's approaching that folk sound,
Yeah,
which is
Opeth played
fine.
a lot with that, right?
Yeah. And
Are
yeah,
there any examples off the list that like aren't really genre
I
fied?
mean, Michael Ackerfeld is on my list for sure, just because he's so like versatile. Like, he also had to make my list because he's responsible for getting me into metal. Like his growl was just like, it was less abrasive as other metal artists are, but it still had like a lot of power to it, and it sounded fucking cool. It was like a earthy growl, and it just seems so powerful. But he also has like the singing voice that goes with it, so he changes from, sometimes he'll use this really powerful growl that sounds really deep and dark, to like this light and airy, like more breathy type voice, which I find that really great, which is
Me too.
probably why I love like progressive metal so much. Which is not to say like bands that go full on screaming the whole time aren't like epic or anything. It's
Yeah,
just like, it's just nice to have like that, what is it, that flow, that even flow,
yeah,
what
yeah, yeah. And like the balance,
yeah,
you know what
because
I
like,
mean?
because you get like sort of like a palate cleanser from like going all the way up to 11, and then like, yeah.
Definitely. A Since we're on the subject of like progressive metal, like prog,
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, man. I feel like a lot of progressive metal has some awful, like, we're talking,
Really bad.
Dream Theater, for
Dream Theater is
example.
on
Oh my
is
God.
probably, if we were doing a show about like the worst metal singers, like that would be the first thing I would talk about, because like the thing is his musicianship doesn't match the rest of the band. Like all
Not at
these bands are
all.
so proficient in their instrument, and then you have him come in, and it's like people are happy when he leaves,
Yeah.
and maybe
Yeah.
like it's and it's not a
Yeah,
really
James.
it's not a really like, I don't know how to define it. It's boring. It's not interesting. It
It's not
doesn't
really
have any.
inspired.
No, it's
It's
not. It does. There's no real like. I don't want to say range, because he does have like a decent range, but
he
like,
used to he used to have a really awesome range, but there's actually videos you can see online where like they'll take I believe it's Metropolis 2. There's like a
mhm.
part in it that has like a fast singing high octave, and they'll take that through the years and show you how his
Oh
voice
yeah.
has evolved. And yikes, you know what I
And
mean?
like that's a tough thing, because like, with guitarists and like drummers, their joints can, wear with age and everything like that. But like with age, a singer's voice is just, it's so, and even me, like I respect every singer. I'm not gonna completely shit on James, because like he can sing. Um, and that's a feat of its own, because like even me just talking straight for like 2 hours, like my voice gets super like sore and almost hoarse, like a little bit. And but they have to sing every night,
Yeah,
and like they have to keep their vocals healthy, because like, you know any change in their vocals changes the color of their sound, and it's like it's tough for sure. And with age, you don't really get a lot of, you know say in the matter. You basically get, even from puberty, like if you start as a kid, like, the voices always change, so it's tough.
definitely.
But I agree that he's up there, and like it just doesn't feel like it fits
Yeah,
the
and it's
Dream Theater band.
yeah, I agree. And it's not that bad to the point where like it'll take me out of a record. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But like I'm not he must be the lyric writer as well, right? Because I'm not crazy
I
about
think
Dream
so.
Theater's lyrics either. So
Yeah, I think he
maybe
is.
it's
I
just
can't.
what he's working with, but like in terms of range and whatnot, it's not there.
It almost seems like he takes a back seat because all of the musicians are like really powerful, and I can understand that. Of just like, you have, they're all amazing musicians. Like every single person in that band is a master at their instrument. So
Yeah.
it's tough. Uh yeah, but I hate him anyway, so I'm fine, because like of just his thing with Mike Patton and everything like that. Like,
Yeah, I saw a documentary where when he like sent his tape in or whatever, or like auditioned, they're like, he sounds pretty good and he's hot too. So
mm.
maybe there's a timeline where it was ugly and he didn't get in.
Yeah.
But in terms of like progressive metal, I can't help but also think about Death.
Mhm.
Death's frontman Chuck, incredible vocalist. I can't believe you hear him talk and then you hear him sing. It's like, where does that come out of?
Yeah.
He's by far my favorite death metal singer. And just like, oh my God. And I was talking before about translation. He puts so much life and, funny enough, death in the lyrics. So haunting, so scary, and intimidating too. And just like the screechiness of his vocals
It's
is
unique.
so fitting to the riffs, the song structure, the atmosphere, the lyrics. I think just a prime example of just a perfect frontman.
Yeah.
He also was like a rhythm guitarist, I believe, too, which is like, Jesus, how do you
Yeah. I
balance
don't know
those
how
two?
anybody does any of that.
Yeah,
It's
especially like
it's
death metal, like how much diaphragm.
yeah, it's very much like rubbing your belly and patting your head at the same
Yeah.
time. It's like feels like two different parts of your brain.
Except one is death metal singing, and then the other is being a guitarist for a technical death metal band. It's
Yeah.
like, how do you even do that?
I think
Um,
they all have I think they have split brains. Like they have just like the and by that I mean let me explain before I get canceled. uh
oh my
like they
God.
have like the brains that can do like two different tasks at the same time. Like
Yeah, like
yeah.
multitasking.
Yeah.
Um,
That's probably a safer way to say it. But I like taking the spicy route.
yeah, the spicy, you never know what you're gonna find the spicy route, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's I mean
Yeah.
people talk normal all the time.
It's where you have to
Add
tread
some
every now and
add
then,
some spice to it
of
every now and
course.
then. Yeah.
While we're kind of on the topic though of like death metal, like I do want to bring up Chris Barnes. I love him. I know he's kind of like an awful human being, apparently.
Ah,
He
yeah.
did the first couple like Cannibal Corpse records. But oh my God, Butchered at Birth, man. Probably my favorite death metal. I know I just said that with death, but
No, that's what makes
he
this
gives
so
it some,
hard.
yeah, it's so hard. And like, don't get me wrong, I love Corpse Grinder, George Fisher, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And I think he's very fitting. There's a lot of elements of his singing that I like better than like early Cannibal Corpse, like their first singer, but I don't know, man. I just have to shine light on it. I'm not gonna say nothing just because he's a bad person.
Yeah.
Um, but also, this is black metal, and this is like the only black metal singer I'm gonna shine some light on. But Dead from Mayhem. He's the corpse on the Dawn of the Black Hearts cover.
Yeah. So he
He
shot
is,
himself and his bandmates made his suicide into an album cover.
yeah, which is a crazy that's a real factual statement.
Yeah. Like
But he was
there's a whole
incredible.
story to that. It's crazy, but
There is
yeah.
talk about like embodying the music.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like I don't think anyone did it better than him in terms of like literally like you vocally projecting what the lyrics are and like what the band is in terms of like the horror aspect of it, the satanic aspect of it. And I believe they were more like pagan than anything, but again,
Mhm.
they're coming from, being inspired by like Merciful Fate and a lot of, satanic themes. Um, but Dead was crazy, man. He sent his demo, like his vocal demo, in a bag with a dead bird in it, which is
That's very
insane. Yeah, he also
that's
used to
very
like
him.
before he went on, he used to huff a bag with a dead bird in it too, like
Yep.
to get him in the mindset and the like he was such a it's almost like method acting,
Mhm.
which is weird, crazy to say in this term in like this context, but
Yeah.
it's just really, really crazy that happened. And a lot of people when they're talking about like metal vocalists and whatnot won't bring them up unless they're literally just talking about black metal
Mhm.
because he has such a crazy, story and it's dead and it's mayhem and it's black metal.
Mhm.
But
Doesn't get any black metal than that.
yeah, you can't not listen to that and like just think of how like really talented and emotional and horrifying those vocals are.
Mhm.
Really, really incredible. But yeah, and of course there's probably a million black metal vocalists I'm missing as well, but Dead, you can't not bring them up. um,
Agreed.
One of the best vocalists though, is Rob Halford.
Okay.
One of the best. Judas Priest. I think it's kind of the opposite of Dave, where there isn't really a ton of, people might argue this, but I don't really get a ton of emotion in his voice, but the range and technicality is incredible, potentially making him like the best technical metal vocalist. You look at a song like Valhalla off it's one of Judas Priest's like most recent albums. Not their recent, but one of
They're
in
more
the last
recent.
4 or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a part in the song when he sings Halls of Valhalla. And in that phrase, Halls of Valhalla, he goes from singing it the highest pitch he can possibly sing it at into a death metal like growl, which is so insane. Like, and for his age too, like it's like, yeah, but this guy can do it. Well, this guy's like 60, you know what I mean? And it's just incredible. Halls of Valhalla. Like when I heard that song for the first time, I'm like, oh my God, how did he do that? Really insane how he takes those two styles of metal and really blends them together, not just one song, but in like one breath. Really incredible. And a lot of people will argue that like Dio is the greatest metal singer of all time. But yeah, I can see that in terms of like he has really cool range. Just his sound alone is really iconic and amazing. But I don't know, man. Like compared to Rob Halford, you really can't. You really can't. I want to see Dio do a like a high pitch scream into a death metal growl. And he can hold those notes all right, but I don't know, man. And Dio's a fantastic singer, don't get me wrong. He's one of the best, top 5 or 10, but
it's so hard to like gauge all these just because it's like there's so many different variables.
There's so many good ones.
You almost have to like make a spreadsheet like like you're doing Pokemon battles or something, like what there are, like any sort of RPG where it's like, what's their flexibility, what's their range, what's their growl, what's their
exactly. There's so many. That's the thing with like a metal vocalist, there's so many elements.
Yeah.
And someone who's very opposite to Rob Halford, but I think is one of the best, is Lemmy Kilmister.
Yeah.
Pretty awful vocalist. Amazing Motorhead frontman.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
Amazing metal vocalist. So iconic, so gritty. So like literally, I can't imagine the vocals for the band Motorhead to be any better.
Yeah.
Seriously, like he because
and he plays bass while doing it.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa.
Which is such a again, so Motorhead, I always associate like a biker,
fair.
hard rock, drug induced, drunk, cigarettes. He literally is that. And not just how he looks, but his vocals. His vocals portray, I don't think, I might have one of my later ones I'll talk about might do it a little better, but I don't think there's a better vocalist to portray like Dead and Mayhem was a really good example, but Jesus Christ, is like Lemmy captured Motorhead so perfectly with his vocals.
He's basically like the Kurt Cobain of like his voice wise, like
honestly,
how, like, Nirvana
which is
has like
so
that.
crazy to say.
Yeah,
it's true.
But it's true. You can't replace it. Like even if you like try to attempt it, it's just gonna fall flat on its face.
Yeah. And he's got the microphone where he's singing like up.
Yeah.
Which apparently that's a really unnatural way to sing.
Yeah.
There was an interview where some guy asked him, I was like, why do you why do you sing with the microphone like that, where you're like looking up? He said, I had to get used to doing that because I'd wanted to avoid any bottles being thrown at me. So it's
Wow.
literally a defense mechanism that he learned it like to do it that way. When he was like probably doing clubs or whatnot.
That's crazy. Yeah, his voice is like you would think like he like puts nails in a blender and like chugs it before. Like
Yeah,
it's got like that
it's
rough and raw quality to it, but it's
the
so
official voice of Jack Daniels, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And
that's
cigarettes.
yeah.
Like really, really, there might not be a better example of like the vocals and the band fitting better.
Yeah. Um
Um, but uh let me I have to talk about this guy now.
okay.
I have to bring him up. Um Ozzy Osbourne is
Okay.
the greatest metal vocalist of all time.
Okay.
Not the not the best Sabbath vocalist, but the greatest metal vocalist.
It's hard to fight that because he opened the door for so many artists. Like
Yeah,
he just like I feel like so many people, whether or not like they sound like him, a lot of people have like embodied that same aspect that he would bring to a band. So
totally. And
I would agree that he's up there.
yeah, I think he's totally I think he's totally up there, if not top three at
Hmm.
least. Um talk so let's just talk about like the technicality of Ozzy. Um his technicality is perfect for Black Sabbath. He doesn't need to be any more high pitch. And like he can hit some amazing octaves,
Hmm.
as well as like almost like a bassy level in his voice, if that makes sense. So he's
Yeah.
a good singer, just like in general, regardless of everything else. He's a good singer. He's a really good singer. But the thing is, there's something about the sound of his voice that is so iconic. And I don't think it's just iconic because of, well, he was in Black Sabbath. I
Yeah.
think
It's hard to say.
his
If he
voice,
wasn't in it,
it's almost like the devil. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like when, oh my God, when you're listening to like the song Black Sabbath, and better yet, if you listen to live renditions of the title track Black Sabbath from like the 70s, or like even better if you could find one from like 69. Oh my God, is it horrifying almost?
Hmm.
Because of how much inflection he has, and like he gets into, I don't think he gets into character. I guess you can argue dead, because he's huffing a dead bird, but like he was
Yeah.
literally, he plays the part in the songs he's singing. It
Yeah,
like,
and I want to touch on like the inflection part too. What's wild is him on and off the stage. It's like
yeah.
when you
Oh
he's
yeah,
almost
true.
he's so articulate on the stage, and when he gets off, he's like,
Yeah.
like it's so like black and white.
He's almost like possessed when he sings though.
Yeah.
And like you look at like Iron Man,
Hmm.
NIB,
Hmm.
it's when you hear the song, you're not hearing the lyrics, you're hearing a character talk about and sing about what he's going through.
Hmm. Yep.
And that alone is some insane points. War Pigs. Oh my God, there's so many.
It's so good too. It's not, which like obviously because I mean it's like up there in bands, but it's just like why can't James LeBrie be more like no, no. I'm just like thinking of like how it really seems like an instrument. Like, yes, vocals are an instrument, but I think Ozzy really brings that to the table where it just seems like just a powerful instrument.
He's literally the voice of the genre, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's fair.
which even if you don't like his vocals, like you can't like he's the first metal singer.
Hmm.
So it's like it's just so incredible how amazing his vocals are.
Hmm.
Um, the atmosphere, the picture he paints with his voice, like no other voice. Um, and just like again, his ranges are good too. His and again, like I'm talking like Ozzy lately hasn't been his vocals aren't really amazing, which pretty obvious reasons why.
Hmm.
Honestly, I'm surprised they're as good as they are now.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm surprised he's still alive.
but
Yeah.
but even in the Sabotage, which Sabotage I think is his best vocal performance, which is their sixth album, I believe. Sabotage. That has Hole in the Sky, Symptom of the Universe, Megalomania, The Writ. Um,
I'm not as
very
familiar with that one.
yeah, it's not really one of their most well-known ones. It's my personal favorite, but I think it's peak Ozzy vocals.
Okay,
It's
I'll have to
kind of
check it out.
I'll give you this parallel. It's like comparing James Hetfield's vocals from Kill 'Em All to Black Album. That's kind of how I see it with
Okay,
Ozzy, with Sabbath 1 to Sabotage, because he really grows, like, grows into his voice,
gotcha.
and they're
That's
awesome.
interesting.
Best Ozzy vocals. And listening to that album, and like I'm not talking about any specific song on that, but the whole album as a piece of like music,
Hmm.
some of the like ranges he hits and some of the singing styles he goes into are really really cool, and so fitting into the album and the genre alone. So much came from his style of singing, and we see that a lot in metal today.
I think one of the uh, obviously one of the biggest influences, like I feel like I have to talk about because he's not necessarily like, but since like talk about Mike Penn, because he's obviously inspired by Ozzy, like in some sense. But
Yeah.
I think the thing that the reason why I put Mike Patton on my list is that he is just a wild card. I, he's just like all over the place. Like he's really almost avant-garde. Like I don't know, like, but he's got that like I don't know. It it's hard. I could see him doing a cover of War Pigs. Is the what I'm saying. Like I can see Mike Patton kind of like having that like I don't know how to what to call it, but like that sort of like evil sound to it.
Yeah, like an eeriness
Yeah.
almost. Yeah, yeah. And I love, that's probably my favorite thing in metal singing. Like in singers in general, like I love when they can bring an eeriness, and like I was talking with Ozzy, like paint a picture of what they're singing about and really embody the lyrics.
Yeah.
Um and there's a lot of people who can like are very technical with that, where like they can do that and also like just do the classic tropey hair metal, like high pitch
Yeah.
screams. Would you consider like Axl Rose one of the best metal singers? And I'm like, and I'd
That's
call him like glam,
that's
even though
tough.
they don't really look glam. Like their hair, I guess.
That's tough to say because like I always pair them with ACDC. Like it's like, okay, you have like that such defining voice, but like you have to ask like, is it good? But I mean, Axel has like what? I think he has like the biggest range out of
Yeah, he has a really good range. I
like
think, yeah, I want to I wouldn't say bigger than Halford, because
Oh yeah, I think he
because
does.
you
I think he
got
has one of the
because
biggest
he can
ranges.
you can argue Axl Rose can get higher than Halford, but I don't think he can get lower than Halford.
No, I
Um,
think I can't back this up, but I'm pretty sure he's up there in like the biggest ranges of vocals. Just period.
Interesting.
Like he just has like that huge range.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
crazy that how much he kind of sucks now.
yeah.
It's all these like, and I feel like people will get upset if I like put him into the glam hair
Mhm.
metal pool, but at the same time, like he kind of has the same death as like a lot of those vocalists where they
Mhm.
just expire so fast. Like
Yeah.
they'll be in their peak for a while and then there's a drop off, and
Well, drugs don't help.
boys, are a drop off. Yeah, and then of course heroin or whatever didn't
Yeah.
help.
Or maybe it does help. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Work for Dave, I guess.
Yeah.
But you look at someone like Dave, like I over like ACDC, Guns N' Roses. Dave has that very iconic, sound. Or I should talk more just Ace instead of Guns N' ACDC.
Okay.
Um, AC compared to ACDC, because Dave has a lot more emotion in his vocals
Oh, absolutely.
than any singer in ACDC.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're like, yeah, you have Dave. He just sounds like someone's holding their nose and singing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like he also puts a lot into it. I think he's kind of self-aware that he's not a singer. So he's like, at least I can
Yeah,
kind of
that's
embody
fair.
these lyrics a little bit, which I think are really cool. Um, do you have like a favorite metal singer at all?
So I still have quite a few to talk about on my list.
Yeah,
If
go for it.
like so I just want to finish up with Mike Patton. I know he's an odd choice, but um I don't really like Dillinger Escape Plan without him.
Mm,
I just like there's this flavor to his voice that just wasn't replicated. I really love Faith No More because it's just like epic. It has like
yeah.
this. It almost has a Dave Mustaine quality to it. Like
Yeah,
in the
true.
chorus of Epic, it's like you want it all, but like. But
Yeah, I
I
can see
think
that.
he has like such a like flexible voice. Like I almost want to say he's a voice actor, like without even like looking it up, because he's got a band called Phantomos, and he just makes like a bunch of weird noises, and it's just like like weird like weird but he like experiments and like he's like all over the place. Um, so and like Mr. Bungle, like
Yeah, dude.
yeah, so it's
Yeah,
like he's a wild card
that's
for
something
sure.
else.
Yeah.
Honestly, and like well, this isn't really Mr. Bungle territory, but I just want to like bring up Sleep,
Okay.
the
Fair.
band, because those vocals are so weird.
I have to feel like
Like almost like very weird, guttural
they
almost,
seem almost inspired, like Mike Patton
like
is, but Mike
Mongolian
Mike
throat
Patton's
singing
just
or
yeah,
something.
yeah, he's all over the place.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Um,
just before I forget,
right.
just Dope Smoker alone.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Also on my
crazy
list
vocals.
is King Diamond. Just
King
like
Diamond is incredible.
yeah,
Um,
just that
Acquired
again.
Taste.
Yeah, of course, yes, but like I have to bring him up because like the range that he can like just envelop is just it's wild. Like he can get like
Especially,
really up
yeah.
there, but he also has that really low like and his like Merciful Fate and King Diamond like those are fun to listen to, but I know it's an acquired taste for sure because it's
Totally an acquired taste just because of how high his
his
vocal, his pitch gets.
yeah,
Like I
Welcome
remember,
Home.
yeah, I remember
And
listening to Don't Break the Oath for the first time. And the first song, like I was like, whoa, whoa. what, like you don't really get a
Yeah.
chance to like really ease into it or acclimate to it. Like you're thrown right into it.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of people tell me like they're obsessed with Merciful Fate, King Diamond,
Yeah.
but it's an album a day. They can't listen to more than an album. But I
Yeah, that's
love
fair.
it. Like I love it. I think again, like Merciful Fate, King Diamond, he comes from the same angle Tony Iommi like came from,
Mhm.
where like again, this is early 80s, and he's saying, listen, you guys are seeing all these horror movies. You're saying we can't be horror music. We can't have scary themes in our music. So he's very, and just so, like you look at his live stuff
Mhm.
and his whole image, he's very theatrical. So you get that in his vocal delivery
Yeah.
as well as the high pitch screams,
Yeah,
which are
it's so up there. Like,
crazy.
yeah, it's wild.
Um,
I had to put him on the list just for that because just like just that I don't know many artists that can hit those high notes, and he
I
like
don't know a
still
single
doesn't.
one
It's
like
just like
like
he's
to
wild.
his level.
Well, yeah,
You know what I mean? Like insane. King Diamond is incredible.
yeah.
So good.
Also, let's talk about like I know this is probably gonna stir some things up, but like Amy Lee,
All right.
really
All right.
really decent vocalist, really great vocalist. I would feel bad if like we left like there's so many like great female vocalists
Of
like that
course.
are just like it's like
Windhand as well. I'm not sure
yeah.
if you're familiar. Yeah. And
um
amazing vocals.
um you have like Nightwish as well, like what's her name, Flor Jansen or Jans,
I'm not a
I
hundred
don't know,
percent.
but it's like but like you have like the opera like type vote, but like Amy is what makes um like that genre for me. Like I don't know, like
That's awesome.
her voice. Like I'm almost a little sad that there's like the other guy in the band because like I feel like they would get so much less like criticism if they didn't have like the new metal aspect to it. They don't have to have it, but like I don't know. Like I'm just thinking
Yeah.
of like Bring Me to Life. Like if you think about it, like he's got like yeah, I can't believe a big city in the dark, so you would never fool me. Like it's just like and like
That's
the
like
back
I'll
and forth
say
is
it.
like it's kind of goofy.
Yeah, like it's a good new metal song, which is really
Yeah,
painful to say that sentence.
yeah,
Um, but like her vocals are incredible on that.
yeah,
You can't deny that. Like the
yeah,
vocals on that and
yeah.
Evanescence.
Evanescence. Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Just really good. Just good, great
yeah.
vocals.
They're pretty. Yeah, I mean, like again, a hot take, but like you have to admit,
It's
she
not,
makes the
yeah,
band. Like
and I
her voice,
agree.
and it's real too. It's not just like altered, like like pitch corrected, and like she's a legitimate
Which,
singer, which
yeah,
owes her
and
a
like,
spot on up there.
of course, and like you look at Ozzy's new record and like his last two, like they're auto-tuned.
Yeah,
You know what I
which
mean?
yeah, it happens.
Where like, yeah, again, like his age, you know what I mean? Which I respect and it's whatever. But and I'm not a big new metal fan, but I can't deny that her vocals are incredible.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Also on my list is Devin Townsend.
Yeah,
Um, I think like he's just
what
got
a range.
yeah, he's got a unique feel to him too. Like I miss Strapping Young Lad, but like the stuff he does in his own projects is it's pretty interesting. But like he just has that really nice quality to his voice. It's like very soothing, but he also has like that satanic like scream to it. It's not like other screams. It's got like rage to it, which is
Yeah.
very strange to
So it's
think
very
about.
guttural, it seems too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like so
His
he's
vocals definitely match with the amount of like genre blending and his
yeah,
range of music. So I
yeah,
think he's just a very talented musician and vocalist, of course.
yeah. Um, one of the people I have to talk about is Bruce Dickinson,
Yeah. Yeah.
because he's just not only is he epic in singing, but he's just epic as a human being. Like on his downtime, he's a pilot and he just like goes on rescue missions, which is like really badass. It's
He
really
is really
fucking cool.
cool, and he's like sword fighting on stage and
Yeah,
whatnot.
he's wild. And like I don't know if any other singer makes me like grip my hand and shout to the sky, like sing the
Yeah.
vocal, like belt the vocals out, just because like he's
It's
got,
very power metal-esque.
it's so power metal, but it's
Yeah.
like, and it has a little bit of cheese to it, but like, god damn, he's a fucking badass. His
He's awesome. He's not one of my favorite metal singers.
right. I don't.
I like he fits Iron Maiden perfectly.
Yeah. I
That's the as much as I'll say. But like you're a million percent right on that. Like you just want to
yeah.
clutch your fist and
Yeah, he's got that. I mean, King
yeah.
Diamond, you kind of have that, but like he's got like that epicness and like, and yeah, I would agree that he, Iron Maiden in general is an amazing band, but for me, I would have to tap out after like one album or half an album because
Hmm.
it just seems like they've got like some sort of structure to them where it's just like, a lot of like triplets and like a lot of, you know,
Yeah,
that
and
power singing and
uh-huh. And I'll say I'm not really a fan of Bruce's vocals on like the newer records. They're
yeah.
good, but I'm not crazy about them. Power Slave is my jam though. I
Yeah, yeah,
think, oh my God. His vocals on it are incredible.
yeah.
Really good. Another, unless you have a last or a couple more
Um,
ones before we wrap up here.
uh, Simone Simmons of Epica
Hmm.
is another like operatic kind of singer. I have one that I really can't pronounce her last name, but she's a newly discovered by me. Alexandra, I can't say her last name, but she's of the band Destiny Potato, and it sounds hilarious. But after we're done, I'm gonna send you a video of Destiny Potato, and you can be like, "Oh yeah, her vocals are like they're really good. It's just fantastic." I really wish I could pronounce her last name because I feel like I'm doing her an injustice, but
Well,
like
what's the band again? Mystery Potato, is that it?
Destiny Potato.
Destiny.
It's
Destiny Potato, check them out.
yeah,
Um,
Alexandra Diljamash. That's my best
hmm.
guess of, um, but I would say like I love her vocals. I'm I have a soft spot for female vocalists because they have like such powerful ranges, but like she brings so much to the table that's really nice. It's just I can't say she's like the number one. I can't say any of the people on my list are like number one. I just like certain qualities of people. Like, I mean, the fact that Bruce Dickinson rescues people on his off time, like that's pretty badass.
Yeah,
Like,
that's really cool. Imagine
yeah,
being rescued by him. It's like I just singer
right,
Iron Maiden.
yeah. I mean, that's and like just that's pretty much my list up there.
Yeah,
There's like
yeah,
there's
cool.
different characteristics of each one, and because there's so many singers out there that are just solid singers, and you
Yeah,
just have to
like
kind of like pick other aspects of their lives that or other qualities of their work that to go by.
exactly. And like I was talking about Ozzy, you can probably make a million arguments against him being the best metal vocalist. It's also coming from a personal bias of how much I love Sabbath. Speaking of Sabbath, probably the last vocalist I'm going to talk about is Ian Gillan
Okay.
of Deep Purple.
Okay.
And yeah, his stuff on Deep Purple's pretty out, like Highway Star, so amazing. But a song that really blew me away and saying, wow, he is actually an amazing vocalist, was a little song called Disturbing the Priest off Born Again. Funny enough, the name of this podcast.
Nice.
It's the song starts with him just like manically laughing and just screaming. And it's like, oh my God. It was so, it was kind of like what I was talking about with Ozzy, where Ian Gillan knew exactly what he was signing up for, except he didn't. Because so Ian Gillan with Sabbath's a really weird story. He doesn't remember signing a contract to be a singer. Him and Tony Iommi went to get drinks one night and just got wasted and signed like a one album contract deal. And they made Born Again together, and you're looking and just the vocals on like Zero the Hero. Digital Bitch is really good. There's like a lot of really awesome vocal tracks on that record, Born Again. Really, really cool. I think I don't want to call him underrated because of how like popular Deep Purple is,
Yeah.
and like legendary. It's a legendary band, but Ian Gillan on Born Again is incredible. And I have such a bias for Born Again, obviously, because it's like literally the medium we're on right now. It's
Yeah.
called
Yeah.
Disturbing the Priest. But that song alone, like, is just so good. And the title track. How can I forget the title track where it's almost this it's like a mix between Planet Caravan and like almost I dare say it, like Great Gig in the Sky by Pink Floyd,
Oh,
where he's just
interesting.
like randomly just doing these crazy high vocal, like high ranges, and it's like, whoa, like really, really awesome. I think he's kind of slept on as like a vocalist.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I'm less familiar, so I'll have to check them out.
Yeah, and again, like Born Again is kind of people rate as like it's famously the worst Sabbath album because the production is like the worst. You have like that black metal production on it, which I don't mind.
Yeah,
But yeah, man,
it sometimes
vocalists.
hurts. It sometimes really does hurt from a producer standpoint when you like venture into like black metal. You're like, oh, I just really wish that there was like a version of this that was mixed better. But like, I mean, there's so many, you know, death metal bands that and like black metal bands especially, like they just go out into a forest and they like all like record from like this little tiny box and it's just like so
Yeah.
rough and rugged sounding that it
Well,
like fits
like
the genre. But
that's my point exactly. It's like that's like someone watching an old movie and be like, oh, I hate it because it's in black and white and it's not
Mhm.
in 10K right now.
And it
This
doesn't have
sucks.
like, you know, the special effects that the CGI that all
Yeah,
those
it's like, listen,
Marvel movies have.
if I'm listening to a pop song and the production sucks, it's going to turn me off from the song.
Mhm.
But with black metal, again, like a lot of the themes we've been talking about on this podcast are like atmosphere. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially those early Dark Throne albums and Burzum, like
Yeah.
it's like, oh my God, it almost, when you listen to it, puts you into another like universe. It's almost like I think the bad production almost like removes it, like almost ungrounds you, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I think that's fair. I'm thinking like, what if there was, if I'm trying to think if there is a black metal band that is like in full, like high quality or anything like that. Like they
There
would be
must
so,
be
they'd be
like
so
you can,
jarring though. But it
like,
wouldn't, because it wouldn't feel like it was of the genre.
yeah, and like even like I was talking about early Dark Throne, modern Dark Throne. Dark Throne released like an album like a couple weeks ago, and for my knowledge, the production's pretty clean on it.
Okay.
And like, of course, there's a ton of modern black metal bands. Um,
Yeah.
But I think that is a huge part of it. And like Ian Gillan, like on top of the almost like eerie production, it's crazy to say, but Born Again is Sabbath's eeriest record. Imagine that, even more than the Ozzy stuff.
That's pretty intense.
Really incredible. And I think his vocals give it that push. Like the production is a little slice of it, but his vocals push it there completely,
Right.
along with Tony Iommi, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's gonna wrap up this episode.
Well, one more. We can't.
Oh yeah,
We can't have.
who are we missing?
We're missing probably one of like the greatest vocalists of all times from the band Tool.
Oh my god. Maybe one day we'll do an episode
That's just me
where
shitting on Tool.
Tool isn't mentioned.
I have to
Hey,
keep
listen,
it going.
Maynard is really good.
He is
Maynard
good.
is insane.
I actually like him better on A Perfect Circle, but yeah,
I
I
think
think
you've
it's
told
an
me in the
ongoing thing. Like with me being on the show, like I always have to shit on Tool.
Listen, there's a live version of him singing sober,
Yeah,
where he's literally singing like bent over,
yeah,
like in a ball, and he's like hitting these insane ranges, and like the sound of his vocals is like, how are you making that noise in that position? Like he's so incredibly good.
yeah. Once upon a time, I would call him like one of the top 10.
Oh,
Because
same.
like he has such like a really polished voice. I just thought it would be funny to end with me just dunking on them
now
again. You know?
we can officially end.
Yeah,
Now that Tool has been mentioned on the podcast.
Just have to.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking about renaming this podcast Fear Inoculum. I think that would be a more fitting name.
Nice.
But yeah, Nate, fucking thanks for being on.
Well, thanks for having me. It's always fun.
Space Bear, of course, your
True.
YouTube.
True.
And stand up. How's it going? Good?
Good. I have a show in Boston, December 4th. Lyric
Dope.
Stage. Check it out. It's cracking up. It's where
Nate Filler's comedy.
mental health meets comedy. It's,
Yeah.
part of the portion of the proceeds go to help mental health. So
Those
it's cool.
two go very well together.
Absolutely. So, yeah.
Well, it's always a pleasure.
Likewise.
Till next time. And this has been Disturbing the Priest.